Hello, everybody out there in VIPKID world. This is Teacher Jenny coming to you to talk a little bit about what it looks like to book your schedule, what a schedule looks like, and that. This is me restarting about the fourth time because I have gone on tangents and talked about things that I know you don't care about in my personal life. I started telling so many stories about my family and my kids' lives. I apologize. So if that happens again, I might just keep going because I don't know that I'm going to restart it for a fifth time. And if I get to the end, I'm certainly not re-recording it. So here we go. It's a little fuzzy right now because I am a speech therapist on another online platform, and this is a Zoom meeting, and this is what we use to do the online speech therapy. And it does record, but it's not intended to be a recording quality that gets posted to YouTube. It's supposed to be recording just for documentation's sake, for note-taking and whatnot, and for referring back to client progress. And it shouldn't be taking up a lot of space on our computer. So I apologize. It's the only way I know to do screen sharing, even though I know Manicam can. I just haven't figured it out yet. So here we go. All right, I am going to start screen sharing right now. Hopefully everything will work out just fine. You should at this point be able to see my screen. And here is my schedule. Okay, this starts the beginning of January. So this was over our holidays. As you can see, pretty much everything is full in here, that all the slots that I had opened. Once the class is finished, the box turns gray and it says finished in capital letters. So Barbie's finished, Alice is finished. These are all finished, 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 finished. Whether they were no-shows or whether it was an IT problem or whether you completed the class, it's going to say finished at the very end. So it just basically means this time is done. Where you see it saying expired here, down at the very bottom, I wonder if it lets me highlight it. It does. Look at that. This means that was a spot that I had open to be booked, and the time came and went and it didn't get booked. Sometimes it means I didn't have the 24-hour box marked. I'll explain that in a second. But it's kind of another video that I talked about all of that stuff. But basically, this means I had the time slot open, whether I had the 24-hour box checked, meaning you can book me within a 24-hour period of time, or whether I didn't have it checked. Either way, the time elapsed afterward. So no booking. Not uncommon at this time of the year. In the summer, the evening classes are very popular because the kids are off of school, just like we are, believe it or not. I didn't know that they were still on that same kind of schedule that was originally established when kids were working on the farms in the summer. But I guess there were farms in China as well. They do not go year-round school. They are just like us. They have their summers off. So the evening class is very popular in the summer because they get up, they do their schoolwork, and then they get on with their day. During the school year, not so much, because during these periods of time, most of the kids are in school. Now you can see that there are evening classes booked here, and that is because this is Saturday morning. Our Friday night is their Saturday morning. They're 12 hours ahead of us. So these particular spots are all these are all morning spots. So again, here's Thursday night, that's Friday morning. Therefore, kids are in school, so you can see that those spots didn't get booked. You know what? I haven't even been opening them in the evenings because almost never do they get booked. But sometimes I do, like in this, for whatever reason, in this case I did. And then we look over here on Friday, and sure enough, this is Saturday morning and this is Sunday morning, their time. And these classes are quite booked. I didn't open up. Typically, this is the 5 a.m. slot, and that means I have to get up at 4:30 in order to. I usually 4:35. I give myself 25 minutes in the morning because, one, I want my computer to make sure it's up and running, not doing any updates. I want to get my Manicam opened, and for some reason, that's an extremely temperamental little piece of software, and sometimes the camera works and sometimes it doesn't. And I've come to terms with that now, but it used to give me huge anxiety to not know whether my Manicam was going to work or not, which is the computer program that lets me put like different pictures around on the screen. So that's my reinforcer. So I like to have that up and running, and then I want to get the class up and going, and then I like to test the audio and all that. I just want to make sure everything is going, and then of course try to somewhat put my face together so that I'm presentable for the class and get something orange on, even if it's not wearing orange clothes, but just to have representation of VIP Kid. Okay, so that's why I get up 25 minutes before class. I have, and in the past, just gotten up 10 minutes before class and gone over, thrown on dark lipstick, and taught the class. But because I feel more comfortable knowing that all the technology in that is in place, not being technologically savvy myself, that's just the way I do it. Okay, so you'll see that I didn't even attempt. I typically do not open up that 5 a.m. slot. Typically. You see here, we have Miss Barbie. And Barbie always does a priority booking request where 2 weeks out after a class, she'll request again to get that 4:30 in the morning slot. I will not get up at 4:05 in the morning for any child except for Barbie. Not even my own children. I kid. Barbie is just the sweetest. And she's so happy to see me. She's an easy kid to teach. She learns so quickly. The minute I open up my camera, she starts bouncing that she's so happy. Her smile is from ear to ear, and she's waving, and she's like, "Hi, Teacher Jenny." I mean, does that not just wake you up and put you in a good mood? It's like a little pat on the back saying, "You're loved today." And it's a great way to start the day. So Barbie, and I've written to the mom in the feedback and said, Barbie is the only child I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for, but she's worth it. So that's their favorite slot. And therefore, since I'm up and teaching, I do go ahead and unclick the next box as well, because I don't want to sit there and have a half an hour of dead time before I start with regular classes. So other kids will get booked. So my Thursdays tend to be a busier morning. All right. And then we can see here, this is starting in the evening. Almost no evening classes at all, except for we see down here for what would be Saturday morning and Sunday morning. That's it. I actually had one that didn't get booked down here, which is unusual. All right, so this is a typical schedule. I'm going to move forward. As you can see that there's a few more spots here that are expired. And that's because this week they started doing testing in China with the kids. And VIPKID shares this information with us so that we know. There's also a lot of great Facebook VIPKID Facebook sites out there that'll share information. People like, has anyone noticed your bookings are low this week? And they'll be like, oh yeah, they're testing. The good thing about testing is that there were a couple kids here in the evenings that started this week. This was the starting of testing, which I thought was unusual. So then I decided to go ahead and open up a few more. So here's the following week. This was just this past week. Notice how many more kids are in the evening. Normally, I have no evening kids. And look how many evening kids there are. Because their schedules are all off. It must be kind of like midterms and finals here, where they just go in and just worry about their testing. So they're just either studying or testing is my understanding of it. At any rate, all I know is that my morning kids are kind of hit or miss. Now look at Miss Barbie. I got up for Barbie and I didn't have 2 classes after her. That's never happened before, never. Those morning slots get taken, they get snatched up so quickly. So this testing week was, kind of like, so don't panic when you sign up for VIPKID and then all of a sudden you notice that I was doing really well and now I'm not. You will again. It's just their schedules. It's just the way that things go. And now, following testing, we go into Chinese New Year in February. And so it's going to be crazy again. There's going to be a lot of no school. There's going to be a lot of vacationing, and schedules are going to be crazy too. So I'm just anticipating for like the next 3 to 4 weeks that things are just going to be strange, and I'll get the kids I get, and the ones I don't. It just works out that way. All right. You'll notice down here that there is a green box, and that's because those classes haven't converted yet over. Let me explain. This is now Monday morning. This is what the schedule is going to look like when you open it up for the following week. All right, so here's my schedule for this week. This is Monday morning. I just completed my Monday morning classes. And I'll explain why one is gray and the rest are still green. And I clicked, as soon as my class was over, the 24-hour boxes. So some of these will get booked now for other classes, but I still have a decent amount of evening classes here. Look how many evening kids there are. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. That typically doesn't happen. Let's see, morning classes. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I only have 4 in the next 3 days that are open, and most likely those 5:30s are going to be booked, and hopefully the 8:30s too, but we'll see. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like if we open. Right here, if you look over here on the left side, we have lock and unlock. This is a new feature they just came up with, which is really nice, so that you don't mistakenly click on a box. And if you do, it'll say, hey, your thing is locked, unlock your screen. Once it's unlocked, you can then click in any box you want and say, I'm willing to work at all these times. Click whatever you want. Click, click, click. These are all the times that I'm willing to work next week. All right? It's as simple as that. You look, everything's in your own time zone right now, but when you scroll over the box, you see this pop-up box that comes over here. It mentions what time that class is in Beijing and what time it is for you. This is beneficial because when you write VIPKid, if you were to have an issue with a class, or if you had a kid that just was struggling so much and his level was too hard for him, and you want to let them know and you want to put a ticket in for it, or vice versa, the kid is just blowing through lesson after lesson, and it's not a challenge at all, and you're finding all this extra time and you want to bump them up a level, and you want to correspond with, put a ticket in and correspond with them, it's always better to use Beijing time for them. Because everyone you correspond and talk to and all that is all going to be in Beijing. That's where the home office is. Okay? They do have some headquarters here, but basically everything you're doing, that's just to have representatives in America so you can get paid from America and you don't have to worry about international taxes and all that other stuff. You're going to be dealing with Beijing. So now if we click on those boxes again, you'll see that they disappear. So at any point, I can go in here and say, I had all these open. Oh, shoot, something came up. I don't want to teach then anymore. No problem. Unclick it. That's all you have to do. Now you're no longer available to teach at that time. You make your own schedule. Open up the spots that you want to open up, and don't open up the spots you don't want to open up. 7 a.m. on school days, I do not have available for parents. This is because that is the time that my son gets on the school bus. Now, he's older. He doesn't need my help getting on the school bus. He does, while I'm teaching my morning classes, get himself up. I mean, he did this when I used to be in bed sleeping, so it's not just because of VIPKid, but he's a responsible kid. He's a responsible 14-year-old boy. I know there are not too many of them out there, but I managed to get one. So he gets himself up in the morning. Maybe he's neurotic and OCD. Like me. No, he's not. But he is responsible enough to get himself up in the morning, brush his teeth, eat his breakfast, get dressed, pack his lunch, and be ready to go. And he likes to have extra time to just decompress before getting on the bus and starting his school day. So he is done by before 7 a.m. So it works out really nice that I go down at 7 a.m. and I just put dishes away, clean up the kitchen, and chat with him as he's hanging out in the living room. It's kind of the twilight time. For some reason, he's chattier then. It's hard to get boys to talk, teenage boys, figure out what's going on in their lives or figuring out what they're feeling about something. Not an easy task. I had 2 girls before him. They told me more than I wanted to know. So this is a new experience for me. And I have found this half-hour period of time, he's just verbose. It's quiet in the house. There's just the 2 of us that are left. And it's really nice to have that time, and I can be distracted and do dishes so that he doesn't feel the intenseness of his mother like counting in on him. What happened in that class? Who do you like? Who doesn't like who anymore? Try to pry out as much information as I can in a casual basis. Okay, so my 7 a.m. slots are going to be open. Not open for them, open for me. Closed out, I guess I should say. It's confusing terms. Now, if we go back, you'll see the week before, I only had 3 of the 5 days open. This is because one actually expired. I had it open, but it was canceled. That's because this was a snow day in our school district. Oh, I'm trying to just get this one. That's not gonna work. Okay, this is a school day, a snow day. So around 5:30 in the morning, we get a phone call that school was being closed. I think it was due to ice or cold, I think, that particular day. So I went ahead and I opened up the 7 a.m. spot. Typically, this would have gotten snatched within 5 minutes. Somebody would have booked it right away, and I would have had that time slot. But it's testing week, and people aren't on the fly just throwing in extra classes for VIPKID. Everything is pretty scheduled. There's not a whole lot of last-minute 24-hour bookings happening this week. So it came and went, and I didn't have a class in that time spot. That's fine. Same thing for the slot underneath it. Now on Friday, the same thing happened. It was a snow day on that day too, but it did get booked. Fridays, this is Friday morning. Remember, this is Friday night for them. So it tends to get booked quicker. But interestingly, my 7:30 one didn't. Go figure. That is a prime spot too. You know, there's no rhyme or reason to it sometimes. But that just kind of explains the schedule to you a little bit. All right, so let's go back to this week. Here we are this week. I am also a scrapbooking consultant with Creative Memories, and I host big weekend-long events at hotels in the greater Northeast Ohio area. So I have one of those events coming up this weekend. So you can see I will be leaving on Friday morning to get to the hotel to set up. We will be there all weekend. I will be back at about 5 or 6 on Sunday night, so I decided to open up a couple spots that evening, just a few, because if you see here, by this time, your time, it's 10:30 at night, and I'm going to want to get to bed because I most likely have classes the next morning. Yes, starting at 5:30. I didn't open up the box before that because I knew I'd be tired. I come back from these scrapbooking retreats. I do not get a whole lot of sleep at them, and I'm busy working the entire weekend. So I'm not working this weekend. That's the beauty of VIPKID. Never opened it up. And quite frankly, I've had a couple priority booking requests from parents who've asked, can I? And when you get a priority booking request, which is a regular customer of yours that after they have a class, they can pick spots. They're an extra week out away from when everyone else can book. And if I didn't have this open, so they said, oh, I want that spot. I can say no for another reason. They have reasons in there. They're usually pretty specific reasons that you can click on as to why you're not going to accept the booking. But then there's also a box now down at the bottom, which is new and very nice. And I can type in there and explain to them that I have another job and it's going to be away from home for the entire weekend. And I won't be back until Sunday evening. So then they know that I'm not just blowing them off, or that they know what's going on. Over Thanksgiving, I had a week that I went to California to visit my daughter in college, and I brought my other daughter with me. And we were gone for, well, a solid week. Monday through Friday. What I did for those, when I got the priority booking requests, I also explained in there that I have a holiday coming up. I'm sorry that I'm stuttering on my words because I have two thoughts in my head at the same time. The other thing that I did is in the feedback to all my regular kids for about 2 weeks leading up to that, I had a paragraph that I had written in a Word document, and I had pulled up to the side. I would cut and paste it into the bottom of it that said, I just want you to know that from November 17th to the 26th or whatever it was, I will be traveling to the other side of the country. I don't think any of my kids really know I live in Ohio, but I'll be traveling to the other side of the country with family to visit my daughter who studies at the university in California. And it is her break, and it is our American holiday of Thanksgiving. And so we will be visiting her for the week of Thanksgiving. And the amount of feedback that I've gotten from parents, either written in the feedback that says, we will wait for you, have a wonderful holiday, or they come in the screen and they wave and they say, have fun with your daughter, have a good trip, happy Thanksgiving. I mean, it's really great. So that's how I let people know what's going on. I have a trip coming up in the spring, again, with my daughters that I'll do the exact same thing for. I'm not going to open up any of those spots because when I'm on that vacation, I don't want to worry about it. And let's face it, hotel internet, even with I had premium internet. We actually spent the week at Catalina Island. Do not plan on teaching any VIPKid classes if you're on Catalina Island. Do not plan on having even consistent internet or Wi-Fi, even if you have the premium package at your hotel. It's an island that's 25 miles off the coast of California. The power lines, the cable lines, the whatever they need to get there, not very strong. So luckily, I didn't book any classes. I could sometimes not even get on the internet. Now, this upcoming trip, I know it's going to be stable internet, but you know what? It's my vacation. It's my vacation time, and it's going to be at Disney. So although we have down days booked into our schedule, on those down days, I want it to be a day that I sleep in and that I enjoy the time with my girls, and we sit by the pool and we chat and we visit, and I'm not worried about teaching classes. So if I feel like I'm losing out on any money, I will just open earlier spots in the morning on the week before, the week after, or some other time in that month. So if you are dependent on the money from VIPKid, then that is something you can do, is that all earlier in the morning, that the earlier you go, the more classes you're able to get. And I'm Eastern Standard Time. The poor people on the West Coast, I don't even know how you do it. Maybe you don't even do morning classes. It's got to be harder to be a VIPKid teacher on the West Coast than it is on the East Coast, because they are another 3 hours earlier than we are. Okay. All right. So this is what the schedule looks like. I'll click on next week. I have next week, looks pretty booked right now. I've got one spot that's going to be filling up here very soon. And then I will start to go here and open up some more like this. I want to make sure that I don't have a whole lot of empty spots. My sleep is precious to me. I am not interested in getting up at 4, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to teach one class and then have a half an hour to just sit around and wait. Not going to do it. I would have done it when I first got started for my first month or month and a half. But 6 to 7 months in now, and knowing that I can get a pretty full schedule, this is what I do. Here are the spots that I'm willing to work, fill them up, and then when it comes to getting up in the morning, I add them like this. Why this 4:31 is open? I think that would have been a mistake, to be honest with you. So here we go. That's the following week out. Now we go one more week out from that, and I haven't opened any of these up yet. So let's go ahead. And this is February 5th through the 11th. Okay, I don't have any trips or vacations going on at that time, so I am going to go ahead. Sometimes this little box gets in the way, to be honest with you. You have to because if you just go over, it's there and in the way, and so it's kind of annoying at times. All right, and then I'll do this time slot. If you see the darker color here, this darker pink color, it's because it means this is a more prime time spot. And then the little 2 spaces above it, this is sort of prime time. So these are the time slots that most parents want, these evening spots after school for their kids. All right, I'm going to go ahead. 8 a.m. as well. Oh, you know what? My schedule might change. We're teaching my speech therapy kids, so I am going to hold off on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday right now until I'm closer to it, just to make sure nobody books anything that I don't want them to book. The beauty of VIPKid is that on the one day, my students that I have are in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, but still I don't start till 8:30 in the morning, actually 9 o'clock. I really don't start till 9 o'clock in the morning. So I could teach all of VIPKid slots all the way till 9 a.m. if I wanted to. I don't, because I want a little break for myself between starting that other job. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, my school is in North Dakota. So we don't start till 10 a.m. my time. So I can definitely do all the time slots and still have a break and get a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and maybe a bite to eat, feel refreshed, and then jump in and start my day working with a speech therapist. Okay. Now, mind you, I did VIPKid. If this freaks you out and you're like, oh, she's used to online platforms and all that. I got hired with these online companies like 2 years ago, and I never accepted any jobs because I was scared to death about it. And it was a girlfriend of mine a year ago who told me about VIPKid. Well, not a year ago, like last summer. This is January that we're in right now. She told me about VIPKid, and I thought, if it's as easy as she says, I'm going to do that, get comfortable with it. If I like it, then I'm going to go back to those online companies and let them know I'm willing to accept jobs. The one had been asking me for well over a year that every time a new job came up, they would run it by me. And I always had an excuse as to why it didn't work. And truth is, deep down inside, I was just scared. I was just scared. But let me tell you, between the 3 different jobs with online platforms, VIPKids is the most user-friendly. It's the easiest. So this is what it's going to look like on your schedule. I hope that answered all your questions. Getting into your classroom. Maybe I'll put that on another video. I'll make another video on how to enter your classroom and how to deal with that because this is really getting long. I apologize for that. And again, I told more stories than I should have, and I apologize. I'm sorry. All right. I am going to figure out how to shut this down right now. And thank you for your time. If you have any questions, let me know. Goodbye out there in VIPKid world.